It really seems like an easy question. Who am I? Well, like many, I could answer in a few words: a father, a husband, a God-fearing man. But to me, who we are is so much more. It's where we've come from, how we react, what our beliefs are, and who we strive to be. Many responses to this question were one statement only, and that was that I'm a sinner saved by grace. For me, I'm convinced that this is the core of who I am. But even though this is the most important and integral part of who I am, there's more to be explored. You see, I'm a kid from a small town in Indiana where our nearest neighbor lived a mile away. I grew up playing in the dirt. And through many of life's twists and turns, I ended up being the only boy in two families that totaled 5 girls in all. And even though I struggled throughout my teenage and young adult years trying to figure out how to be a man, I know now that I was blessed to have a unique perspective of how to deal with the opposite sex, and I wouldn't give that back for the world. Shortly after high school, I met a girl at a country bar. Both of us were in there underage, and it really didn't matter to us. We weren't much of the drinking kind, we just wanted to dance and be together. She was the prettiest girl I'd ever dated. But I knew she was probably going to be gone in a little while, so I signed up for the Navy to see the world. And I married her anyway. I was 19 and she was 20, and so our life began. 6 years later, and I decided I needed to change, we left the Navy and returned to her home state of Michigan. I wanted to be a productive part of society, so I got a job and we got that small house we could call our own. Shortly after, God blessed us with our one and only child, a boy. I really never felt adequate as a dad. It's kind of hard to teach somebody how to be a man when you're still learning yourself. But with the help of God, my wife, and the military, we figured it out. And together, we learned the staples of manhood, like honesty, integrity, and a good work ethic. Eventually, I landed a job as a firefighter, one of the best jobs in the world. I loved it, and I felt like I'd found my calling. During that time, I bought a motorcycle and started a charity ride for kids who've been traumatized by fire. In 11 years, our team raised almost $100,000, and I'm happy to say that even after I stepped away, it's still going to this day. Then, around 2007, my marriage hit a very dark time. And before the dust settled, I had filed for divorce and was moving on with my life as fast as I could. Now, most people wouldn't talk about this kind of stuff, but it's an incredibly important part of who I am. Through a series of events, I had to make a decision on whether I was going to live for myself or for God. I chose the latter, and I'm glad I did. My wife and I reconciled, and we've never looked back. Shortly after that day, I took a job as a fire chief of a small rural department. And 6 years later, I accepted another position as a fire chief a little closer to home, and I still serve in that wonderful little community today. And so that brings us to the now, to the who am I at this point? Well, I can say that I am a sinner saved by grace. And I try to use the knowledge that has been afforded to me by God's grace over the years to help others, especially men, to navigate this often confusing world while still remembering that I'm not done learning myself. Specifically, I want to help others realize that even when the world lies to us and says that everyone else is perfect except for us, the reality is nobody has it all together, and that we're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable, and it's how we learn. I want to help people see that the key is to ignoring the lies that your mistakes are worse or that they're insurmountable, because they're not. And by God's grace, you can be a shining example to others once you figure that out. This is my goal. And this is my story. This is who I am.